Welcome to Japan. Hello everyone. We would like to introduce famous whiskey of Japan, Yamazaki, Hibiki, Hakushu, and Chita. We hope you can find your favorite one. Let's get started. First of all, Japanese whiskey is influenced by Scotch whiskey from Scotland. That is why phraseology of Scotch whiskey is used in Japan. So, these four whiskeys, Yamazaki, Hakushu, Chita, and Hibiki, are divided into three types. Yamazaki and Hakushu are single malt whiskeys. Chita is a single grain whiskey, and Hibiki is blended whiskey. These types are written on the label. So, what is single? Single means that it was made from one distillery. The Yamazaki distillery is in Osaka, the Hakushu distillery is in Yamanashi, and the Chita distillery is in Aichi. Next, what is malt? Malt means barley malt in English. Whiskey made only from malted barley is called malt whiskey. So single malt whiskey is a bottle of only malt whiskey made at one distillery. Single malt whiskey is distilled from onion-shaped copper vessels called a pot still. The pot is heated from the bottom. Then, since alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water, it turns into steam before the water does. Pot stills lie at the very heart of the whiskey making process. Grain whiskey means anything other than malted barley, so it doesn't necessarily have to be one grain. It could be whiskey that's made out of multiple grains that is not malted barley, so it could be one grain, it could be corn, wheat, or whatever. Any grain other than malted barley, but may include unmalted barley. The key of making grain whiskey is the continuous still, column still. Column still has multiple pot stills built in, and pot still can be used many times inside, so the alcohol content is more efficient than distilling twice with the pot still like malt whiskey. It is possible to make high quality whiskey. Generally, malt whiskey is more expensive than grain whiskey. Blended whiskey is the product of blending different types of whiskeys and sometimes also neutral spirits, colorings, and flavorings. It is generally the product of mixing one or more higher quality straight or single malt whiskey with less expensive spirits and other ingredients. In the world, blended whiskey is generally the most popular. Next, single malt whiskey, then grain whiskey. Some examples of blended whiskey include Johnnie Walker, as well as Ballantine's, Chivas Regal. Some examples of single malt whiskey include Macallan, Laphroaig, and Ardbeg. A non-aged statement whiskey is when the spirit has been bottled without its maturation age being marked on the label. Unlike wine, whiskey does not continue to age in its bottle. A whiskey's age is determined from the time it is first put in the barrel until the time it is bottled. Once the distilling process is completed, the new make whiskey is filled into casks and set aside in warehouses for maturation. Legally, the minimum age of whiskey must reach 3 years old. After this period, it is entirely up to the individual distillery to decide when to decant and bottle. Once bottled, if the distillery chooses to put an age statement on the label, Scotch whiskey law declares that the youngest whiskey used in the bottling must be what is stated on the label. For instance, if 12 years old, 10 years old, and 5-year-old single malt were used in a vatting, legally it should be marketed as 5-year-old single malt, as this is the youngest age included in the vatting. Even if it was a small amount, this must be done. In the current whiskey market, there is a significant rise in non-aged whiskeys. There are also several reasons as to why this change has occurred. One being the global sales growth in single malts, subsequently applying pressure on the industry to release more stock. This has resulted in older whiskey stocks being used sooner than projected. Many distilleries therefore don't have access to the aged stock they once did. Shinjiro Tori of Suntory wanted to create whiskey different from Scotch, for the taste of the Japanese population. Masataka Taketsuru, who established the Yoichi distillery and the Nika brand, always aimed to create strong-flavored, intense whiskeys similar to Scotch. Yet, seeing that this taste wasn't well received by the Japanese, Taketsuru, who put no whiskey into casks for 2 whole years during one period several decades ago. No one expected the steep rise in popularity of Japanese whiskey to happen both in Japan and across the globe, and distillers have been caught off guard. The numerous international awards and recognition Japanese whiskey has received over the past 2 decades has only added to this increase of demand. For years, whiskey marketing has promoted older whiskeys over younger to the general global industry. Age statements, typically 10, 12, 15, have been considered a mark of perceived quality as a core whiskey in a distillery's portfolio. Ages 18, 21, 25, and above have been promoted as higher quality, as historically, the messaging that the older a whiskey is, the more valuable liquid holds. As the industry progresses, the belief is regularly being challenged. Although there are some excellent older single malts in the world, higher age doesn't equal superior flavor. The Yamazaki has a strawberry-like scent hidden in the soft taste which is created by the aged wine barrel malt whiskey, and the sweet and sparkling smooth taste is created by adding the Mizunara oak barrel aged malt whiskey. The color is a bright reddish amber, and the scent is strawberry and cherry. The taste has a honey and smooth mouthfeel with sweetness that spreads. The aftertaste is a sweet vanilla, cinnamon, and clean, pleasant one. Hibiki Japanese Harmony has a taste of harmony that is beautifully balanced, which is one feature of Japanese whiskey. It has an amber color. The scent is of rose, lychee, hints of rosemary, aged oak notes, and sandalwood. It has a clear sweetness of honey, orange peel, chocolate for its taste. The aftertaste is delicate, gentle, and of faint Mizunara oak. Hakushu. It has a fresh scent like the young leaves of the forest and a refreshing, light and sharp taste. Its color is bright gold. The scent is of sudachi and mint. The taste is light and has a refreshing mouthfeel, clean with a hint of acidity. The aftertaste is subtle smoky, subtle sweetness, and a clean crispiness. Chita is very delicate and has a subtle honey taste. The color is bright gold. The scent is a pure, straight, and sweet oak. The taste is a pleasant sweetness and smoothness. The aftertaste is beautiful and sweet. Enjoy whiskey tasting in Roppongi of Tokyo. You can find your favorite types of whiskey here. Find your best whiskey. You can try 4 famous types of whiskeys: the Yamazaki, the Hibiki, the Hakushu, and the Chita. Roppongi Bar 7557.